Hi everyone, this video is for the people who are going to be racing 70.3 Cork on the 19th of August. And it's going to go through 30 days to race day. We're going to cover topics like the course preview. We're going to cover equipment selection, nutrition, hydration advice, etc. So this is for you if you're going to be racing in 30 days time. We'll talk about the next 30 days training, hydration, nutrition, equipment, clothing you'll need. We'll talk about the route, mental game for those coming abroad from the States, etc., UK. We'll talk about traveling for those who are coming from further abroad, such as Dublin to Cork. We'll talk about your packing checklist. Alrighty. Okay, so who am I? I am Coach Steve or Steve Moody. I've been coaching triathlon for 20 plus years, racing for the same sort of time. I'm RMU certified, Training Peaks Level 2 certified. I have put around 40 or so athletes through the 70.3 and Ironman course in Cork. I run weekends down there and I know the course quite intimately, as I've done the cycle probably around 8 times at this stage. So I know my stuff and happy to share what you need to know to have a great race day experience. Right, so we'll talk about your 4 weeks out. What does your next 30 days of training look like? And what are the key things you're going to need to focus on? So you're going to hit what we call peak training load, as in terms you're going to hit the largest amount of training volume per week and the largest training distances in terms of your swim, your bike, and your run. And so the key things you need to start doing in this period. You'll also talk about doing some race pace sessions where moving away from what you would have done in your base training or building your fitness endurance, where you're doing zone 1, zone 2 stuff. You're going to now look at targeting your race pace for your swims, for your bikes, and your runs. So you can pull those numbers out of the bag come race day. In terms of key milestones, for the run, you should be hitting between 18 and 21k peak in terms of your actual sort of standalone run distance. In terms of the bike, again, that would be 80, 90 to 100, again, depending on your level and ability, but that's a sort of number you'll be hitting for the next couple of weekends in a row. During these long bikes and long runs specifically, you'll be fine-tuning your nutrition and your hydration strategy, what you're going to eat, what you're going to drink, when, etc. And I'm going to talk about that in the next couple of slides. But you should be practicing them during these sort of long bikes and runs. You're going to be testing your equipment as well. If you're going to be using a TT bike, you want to be out on the TT bike doing your long runs. If you're going to be using a front-mounted hydration system to drink, as in you'll be testing that. If you're going to use power meter, you'll be testing that. If you're using a new wetsuit, you've got to be testing that. Carbon plate runners as well. Guess what? Testing that. The other key thing that you will need to do, and then if you haven't been doing already, is practicing open water swimming. Cork is based, the swim is in the sea, so ideally you'll be doing some long sea swims, getting used to handling waves and currents, etc., and getting used to being comfortable in the wetsuit. Those are the key things you'll need to be covering in what we call your peak training load. For example, I've put up an example here of pulled from one of my beginner training plans that I sell on Training Peaks. This is like the peak week, and I think it was a 24-week plan. And as you can see, we'll talk about the swims. There's a technique swim here, a speed set swim, and also either an endurance or, as I said, an open water sea swim. Again, just getting used to the wetsuit. Bike-wise, as talked about, the key sessions are your long bike. This guy is going to be doing a 90k bike ride with some race pace efforts, whether you're targeting that by heart rate zone or power zone or pace. This will get you used to actually try what it feels like holding those numbers and whether their numbers are realistic for you or not. And again, we all know about Windmill Hill, and we'll talk about how to handle that in the course preview. Is later on. We'll have a bit of hill work and strength work, making sure you've got good, strong uber pumpers or glutes and quads to go up the hill, and also to be quite powerful on the flat. Run wise, we've got the long bike here, long run here, which is around again 21k. Again, race pace will be an option here where we see what it feels like to run for say 16k of 16 of the 21k at race pace. Find out what our legs feel like, if we're targeting heart rate, if we're targeting pace, etc. Other key is they've got a brick session here. A brick is where you run directly off the bike, a long bike, just to get practice in terms of what your legs will feel like and making that transition from biking to running. This will peak at 5k. You don't need to do much more than that, to be honest. Some people think, should I not be running 10, 15k off the bike? No. All you do is hammer your legs and potentially get yourself injured. Other run sessions are just easier tempo run during the week. Alrighty. So you've got through the last 2 big weeks of training. What happens now? We call this the taper. The taper, again, tapering athlete, approach with caution. This is what we have to do where we actually reduce our training load by around 50 to 60%, either that in volume or intensity. Why? Because we don't want to turn up to the race day smashed and tired. We want to turn up full of energy and consolidated all the good fitness and speed and work we've done for the last the big couple of peak weeks beforehand, but also all the weeks and months beforehand you've been training for your A race. So this is what we call the taper. You might have more rest days in there, and again, the purpose is just to let your body recoup, build up energy, any sort of soreness, muscles, delayed onset muscle soreness, let that all out of the system. We're just keeping ticking over. We don't do nothing for the 2 weeks because we would lose fitness and sharpness. Well, the sessions we do light, short, intense, and then they've come ready for race day. This is it's a weird period for athletes. They get a bit antsy. They've used to been training twice a day, long bikes, long runs, etc. And suddenly you've got this extra time in your hand. They go like, what am I going to do? Use this time productively. Check out the athlete guide. Check out course reviews. There's logistics you need to sort out. Get your packing list organized. Get your travel plans nailed down. I talk about that in the last section about the key things you need to go organize to make sure you're ready come race day. And trust me, it's all about minimizing stress in the lead up to the race. They allow you to have a cool race day and be buzzing with energy, hitting the start line, feeling like a rock star. Example of some taper stuff here we have, as you can see, there's just recovery swim session. Again, this is one of my beginner plans. A coffee spin here with your mates. There might be a little bit of race intensity, like a tempo run or an actual full 70.3 a test set, because again, you're ticking over. You're not going to get any more fitness the last couple of weeks, but you are going to maintain it, and you're also going to allow your body to rest and recover. Right, nutrition and hydration is the next session we'll cover. This is key. If you don't get this right, it's going to be a very long, painful day at the office for you. Why is it important? 70.3 is a long distance race. You need to have a hydration and a nutrition plan. You need to fuel yourself for the entire duration of the race, because if you don't, the body can only hold so much energy in terms of glycogen, and once you exhaust that, you're going to run out, or bonk, as we call it in triathlon, where you actually just, your body has no energy to move. So you need to keep topping up and fueling throughout the day. Again, the old adage, if you fail to prepare, prepare to fail. So you need a strategy. You need to know what you're going to eat, when you're going to eat, how you're going to eat, and how often. So we're going to cover some of these things here. So what should I eat? There's no magic bullet or biscuit that you said, if you, and again, and don't believe the marketing guys, if you eat this race gel, you will become a champion. Rubbish. Everyone's gut is different. Everyone's palate is different. Everyone has digest foods in a different way. So you've got to trial and error to figure out what works for you. But the good news is there's loads of stuff you can try. It can be savory stuff. It can be energy gels. It can be energy bars. It can be sweet stuff. And you've got to try these things out in your long bikes, long runs, and to go, look, okay, I'm going to see if I can stomach Nutrigrain bars for whatever my 4-hour bike and see whether I kept my energy levels up. They easily digested. I didn't feel nauseous, etc. And if that works, that's your go-to food. If not, then you try something else. It might be Cliff Bars. It might be energy blocks. It might be, dried fruit. Some people use boiled potatoes. It's all personal. But what the key you need to be looking at is how many calories or carbs you're taking on board an hour to make sure you're able to fuel yourself for the entire duration of the bike, and importantly, you're fueling for the run afterwards as well. So typical rules of thumbs, you need between whatever 60 to 90 grams of carbs per hour, or approximately 300 calories per hour. And the range is because people who are going to be out there longer will need more. People who are a larger side need to burn more calories and need more fuel. That's why we have a range of 240 to 360 calories. Key is multiple carb sources. If you run into danger of getting into GI issues or intensity distress, if you eat the same thing over and over, if you eat whatever 20 gels over the period of like 4 hours, you can only imagine what your stomach's going to go through. But if you mix it up, have some bars, grab some fruit from an aid station, whatever, and mix up with Cliff Blocks or whatever you actually like to eat, that will work for you. What should I drink? Now again, it is again individual, but there are some key rules of thumb here. You need to mix it up again. In terms of, if you just drink all water, you'll end up flushing out all your electrolytes and your sodium in the system and end up cramping. If you just drink all Coke, your body will sort of reject that. If you drink all isotonic with electrolytes, it can mess up your stomach as well. So having a mixture of both water and something like isotonic is good. Save the Coke for the run. It's a good dose of sugar if you like it. So you do need a mix of that. And again, try the different mixes. Also figure out what's on the first aid course from the race brief and try that mix, because then if you need to, when you will need to use some of their drinks bottles from the aid stations, and you don't want to suddenly be trying out Morton sports drink for the first time or a Gatorade for the first time and getting a horrible, finding it reacts badly with you. You should be drinking early and straight out of T1. Remember, you've been swimming for an hour plus, as in your body's going to be slightly dehydrated. You already need to top that up. It's more urgent than actually getting food on board, because you'll have sweated a fair bit in the wetsuit. Aim for around 30 yaws of or 800 milliliters per hour to keep your levels topped up. And again, a mixture of the sports drink, water, and Coke later on. How should I drink? Again, this is not me teaching you, your granny, how to suck eggs or eat eggs. This is actually, it's a legitimate skill you need to practice. If you think about it, you're going to be transporting a lot of your food on the bike or on the run. You need to figure out how you're going to get that from your transportation device, be it a top tube bag or the back of your cycling jacket or tri-suit, from there into your gob. And that's a skill in itself. And it's not because you can't stop every time you want to eat. You need to be doing this in the move, or else it would be very stop-start and it'll draw out your day. So it's practicing taking food from the top tube bar and into your mouth. Key tip here is have it prepared. If you know you're going to use, 5 or 6 Nutri-Grain bars over the duration of the bike, and you're going to eat a third every 15 minutes, have it unwrapped. Have it cut in thirds, have it stored, so there's no unwrapping, you're just taking and placing into your mouth. And also, if you're going to use a front hydration system, make sure you practice using this as well, in terms of whether the straw is the right length, etc. A key thing, and a mistake a lot of newbies make, is they go in and they think they'd have to carry every single piece of nutrition and liquid with them, which is going to be very heavy if you think about it. But remember, the aid stations are on the course for a reason, and use them to advantage. If you know that you can carry 2/3 of your fuel and liquid with you, and then bake into account, as in there's an aid station at whatever 40k, 60k, whatever it is on the bike, and okay, I want to get there, I'll top up that water bottle, or I'll top up with Gatorade or whatever on the course, or if I'll just grab some bananas and mix it up there. That will minimize your need to carry extra weight on the bike. And we all know about how key it is easier to cycle if you're not carrying extra weight. And then also you have the option of mixing up. You don't have to carry bananas in your back pocket because we'll get squashed. So build them into your strategy. When should you eat and drink? This is key, and you need to practice in your long rides and your long runs. Either eat or drink by schedule. Either by distance or time, rather than hunger or thirst. If you're waiting until you're hungry or you're thirsty, it's already too late. Because at that stage your glycogen levels are kind of depleted and you're trying to catch up. You're trying to eat beforehand, and by doing that, setting yourself alarms on your Garmin or your bike computer that go off and remind you to eat every 15 minutes or every 10k on the bike, that will keep you honest. Because come race day, it's going to be lots of people screaming and cheering, and you're going to get excited and you're going to go, wow, this is great, I'm a rock star, I'm overtaking that guy, la 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 la. And you go, oh, it's an hour in, haven't eaten, bit peckish. You're already kind of behind the ball at that stage. Garmin alerts, computer alerts, have a plan, stick to it. It will keep you honest on race day. As I said, I mentioned that in terms of just keeping it structured. So key takeaways: do have a strategy. Practice it in the next couple of weeks. Trial and error, different foods types. And remember, there's no one type that's right for everyone. It's got to be fit for you. And if you like the food, you're more likely to remember to eat it, by the way. Work out your equipment, your top tube bike or your top tube of work, the pockets on your tri-suit, etc., your front hydrations, and practice this stuff. I go into a lot more detail about was it different options of food and kind of different combinations, and was it how to eat beforehand, and the morning in this race day nutrition, which I'll put the links in the comments below if you want to have a look at. But it will take too long. It's around 30 minutes. So, but great amount of information in there. But we want to focus on Cork. This will get you through it. So equipment and kit to wear. What do you need for 70.3 Cork? Broken into swim, bike, and run. And we'll go through each. Definitely going to be a wetsuit swim. Always has been. Make sure you've practiced that beforehand. Goggles, do wear ones with lenses, with tinted lenses, because the sun can be rising and it can be a little bit blinding around the time you'll be in the water. Bring another swim hat to wear underneath your actual race hat, because you can use that to anchor your goggles and also keep your head a bit warm in case the water is cold. A tri-suit in bold, because does that some people will make the decision to actually use a tri-suit or actually go for a full a change of clothing in T1 and T2, into bike clothes, into run clothes. I have a video on that below as well in terms of whether or not the pros and cons. Spoiler alert, the tri-suit's the fastest way, but also it's not as comfortable. If you're a first timer and you want to get through it, you're better off using a change of clothes. But again, I go through the pros and cons in a bit. Bike. Now, there's always a big debate on the forums here, and I've seen it during the year. About, is it a TT bike course? Is it a road bike? TT bike is a time trial bike. It's much more aggressive setup in terms of you have aero bars on it, and it means you can actually go faster on it. It's if you stay aerodynamic. It's slightly more difficult to go around corners, and it's slightly more difficult to climb because there's a bit where it's not as designed for that as a road bike. Don't believe the hype. Cork is not that hilly a course. It does have Windmill Hill, which we'll talk about. It is some lumpy parts, but a lot of it's very time trial friendly. So if you have a time trial bike, or if you have the option of putting clip-on aero bars onto your road bike, do it. You will actually save a lot of time, and you'll have a better race day for it. Helmet, you got that. Shades or visor if you have your helmet. Cycle shoes and socks. Top tip: bring socks for T1 and T2. Dry pair of socks is absolutely genius, and also towels just to dry your feet. You put that in the red and blue bags. Talk about that in a second. Race belt to put your race number on, hydration, and your nutrition. Run. And just in terms of Cork itself, there's been 2 instances of Cork Ironman, one of which was an absolute washout, and it was the second one was an absolute scorcher. So what I tell people is pack for all eventualities. Bring winter gear, bring rain gear, bring sort of just your tri-suit, bring your short sleeved cycling top. What you can do, even if the weather's a little uncertain for race day, you can have that stuff in your bag, in your kit bag, and make a call on the day. If it's a bit chilly, you went, actually, I'm going to put on that extra layer and I'll be more comfortable with the bike, you have that option. It is way better to be looking at something than looking for it. Overpack. They just stay in the transition bags if you don't use them. Runners, hat, visor, shades, socks, race belt, nutrition. Loctite laces are laces that turn your runners essentially into kind of almost slip-on runners. What you need, this will mean that they're quicker to put on. It will save you around 30-40 seconds in transition. I have a video in below showing a field test on that. If you have the option to get them now, do. But practice with hands. If you're just more comfortable, just standard running laces, go with that. Socks, dry feet. Post-rain was all that sort of stuff that go into your white bag. Again, I cover in video and transition bags, but key thing is a way of contacting your friends. Don't worry too much about the post-race treat. There's a heap of food in the finisher tent afterwards and drinks and all the rest, and you should be covered that way. That's what we have covered there. Okay, and by the way, we're going to talk about the course preview. By the way, if you're finding this useful and it's been helpful so far, please hit the subscribe button and give us a thumbs up, as I know you're enjoying it, and I'll do further videos on this and other courses, etc. And I will be doing other videos that are 70 Cork specific, closer, and if you're subscribed, you'll get access to them closer today and get you more forearmed and more prepared. Right, Cork swim. It's actually quite a nice swim. It is in the sea. You will start around here. You will all be lined up in your pens where you actually self-seed, where you go in by expected time, you'll finish it. So if you think you're going to swim 25 to 30 minutes, there'll be pen for that, 30, 35, etc., etc. And this will be lined up. You will be let in. It's a seated start, and they allow swimmers in roughly 3 to 5 people at a time. You go up and there's corrals, and then what you do is they every 5 seconds they let those people in. They all run in. So it's no mass start. It's nice and civilized, but as long as you put yourself in the right corral. Don't put yourself in the 30-minute corral if you know you're only going to swim 40 minutes, because what will happen there is you'll get swam over by stronger swimmers and just get in the way. Put yourself where you're going to have a comfortable swim. Swim is just the start of a long day. It is a little bit rocky going in, so mind yourself, don't take your time getting in before you start swimming. So don't run in and end up banging your toe off a bit of a rock, because that will make a mess of your bike and your run. So take your time, get in, get comfortable. This part here is the hard part of the swim. You're kind of swimming against the tide as they try to organize it for around only 400 meters. You have your turnaround, and then you get pushed down by the rest of it with the current, because the tide will be going back in. The key sighting points, there's some buildings up here, kind of when you're looking up to see where they go in a straight line. There's some buildings and trees up straight ahead. Use them. When you turn around here, you can use the lighthouse as a sighting point. When you're coming to the end of the swim, if you use there's a big yellow house where beside transition, you can't miss it. That's your starting point. And again, the only key thing you need to avoid is don't go too wide here, because if you get pushed past there, you have to swim against the tide to get back in and make it a bit difficult. Aim in to the alcove, up the stone ramp and into transition, which is in this field here. Transition advice, there are 70.3 specific rules where you need to use a blue bag and a red bag. Blue bag is your swim to bike, so therefore you need to have certain equipment in it and you need to put it in a certain place. I go into that in great detail in the video in the links below, what you need to pack in the bags, what key things, what nice to haves, what must haves, etc. And it makes it a little bit easier. So look at that video later on and like that one too, if you would, please. That'd be great. So we finished the swim, feeling like a rock star. Now we're hopping on the bike. You will be hopping on the bike here and heading up this road here. And the crowds are very densely packed around this. It's big noise. It's great. You can feed off that energy. This is our bike route, where we have, and as I said, I've cycled this around 8 times. So this is my kind of cheat sheet for the bike route. The first 10K from Youghal out to just nearly this place called Ballymacotta is the road surface generally quite good. There are the odd pothole, but in generally for Irish roads, very, very good. Around 17K, there's a minor climb. It kind of comes out of nowhere, so you just be ready to gear down on that and then spin up that. Again, road surface all right. The 21K, there was a bad corner when we did it, and and there was gravel on the road. But again, the Cork County Council are doing a really good job of going, not only fixing potholes, but actually clearing the gravel off the road. But you will, that bad corner is still there. Just take it easy. There will be marshals with red flags. Listen to them. They know the hot spots on the course. This is one of them. 35 to 40. Yeah, sorry, Cork. This is shit road. It's full of potholes, and like it's just, you need to be aware. You're going to have a bit of a bumpy ride. Make sure you hold on to your bottles and all the rest, and you don't lose bike computers, etc. But that's the worst part of the course in terms of road surface. 40 to 50k. This is my favorite part of the course, as in it's right beside the inlet here, right beside the water. The road surface is pristine and really flat. Really loads of time for the aero bars to make up a good bit of speed here. Beautiful. Coming out of Middleton, there's a lot of rumble strips as well. They're little kind of little disturbances on the road to kind of tell cars to slow down. So just be aware of them. From Middleton, from around 8k up to here, there's a long drag. It's probably around, let's say, 3-4% gradient, but it just means that you just have to, you can stay in the saddle, stick in the big ring, but just accept you're going to be losing a bit of speed. That's kind of the longest part of the climb there. It smooths out then past for the kind of a little bit of rolly there. It's nothing too much to write home about. There's a bad enough corner. It's around 73, as you can see it here. Just keep an eye on that. Last 15k, it's lumpy, as in you're rolling. There's no real major hills. That is coming. And the road surface is still okay. So like I wouldn't, it just get ready to kind of just try to keep powering through the pedals. Windmill Hill, you've all seen the video, you've all seen it. It is a focal point of this race, and for rightly so. It's the crowd come out and make it an absolute spectacle. There's was it hundreds of people cheering you up. It's very exciting, but you need to know how you're going to handle it. It is around 400 meters of increasing climb to the point where you get to, I think, 22% gradient, where it's just, you are, if you're still pedaling, you're pedaling to treacle. It is tough work, but you need to know how you're going to handle it. For people who are looking to try the course, I suggest see how you go at it, because you come at it from a laneway, right? So it's not a case you just have you can go at it like a 35k an hour and then just shoot up it. You can't. You're coming from a laneway and you turn right. So whatever speed you have to lose when you're going down there, you have two options really in my mind. You can try to power up it and just dropping down the gears as the gradient increases, and you will get down to your smallest gear, I guarantee you. And then it's just, except for the last 100 meters, it's a hurt fest. But you're standing the pedals, you're feeling the crowd, they're roaring at you, and you're just squeezing those last drops of energy up the hill. That's if you're a strong climber, and that's if you've got the right cassette and the right sort of setup to actually do that. A lot of people, what they will do is they'll get the cycle up as far as they can, which will be roughly around halfway, and then they actually get off the bike and walk it. There's no shame in this, because if you think about it, is it better to try and go up and then fall off and bang your knee and then try to run a half marathon with a swollen knee? Not a great option. If you're not comfortable, go up to come out of your cleats and walk up the last bit of the hill with your bike. The crowd will cheer you. They'll still want you to go in, and you'll get up safely, and your legs will be saved. A couple of pros did this in last year's race, and they did well. So just know what you're going to do and be clear in advance, because it's not something you want to try change your mind midway. You're either all out and going to make it, or you're going to stop halfway and walk up it. Either way, just get up it, get over it, roll back down into transition. And as you can see, there it is. There, it's a sharp, stabby yoke. Okay. Again, transition advice. This is now there's a red bag, and I'm going to talk about that in that video. The run. It's a 2-lap course, 2-loop run where there's 10k and 10k, and there's a bit of dog legs that make up the 1k. It is pancake flat, as you can see. It goes through the village. You go under the bell tower. You go out to the roundabout. You turn around. This part here is really well supported. It's just noise. This, you go out a little bit, it's a little bit quiet, but there are kind of aid stations along the way and all the rest. But this is your energy zone, and feed off that. You will it's 21K, and I advise any newbies to break it into 7K blocks. Why? It's easier to digest in your own head. Go like, oh, it's not as bad. First 7K, you will feel good because you finished the swim, finished the bike, and feeling I only have a 21K run to do. I did that. Was it 2 weeks ago when I did it in whatever 2 hours? I was rocking it. Hold back, let you find your running legs, find your energy, get your fuel on board. Was it see where people are at? Listen, was it feed off the crowd? Second, from 7 to 14K, lift up the pace. Start moving the legs a bit quicker. Try to dig in and push out. The last 14 to 21K is where it's going to really hurt, and that's where you want to dig in. And that's when you want to take on board Coke. That's when you want to use any mantras or powerful short statements to kind of give you the kick up the arse you need. Look for your friends in the crowd. Look for your club mates who you're chasing down. Find everything you need to do to keep going. It's a flat course. Don't need to worry about hills. Just get into rhythm. Hold it out. Fueling is key. As I said, the aid stations are roughly around every 2 kilometers. There's loads of Morton gels. You don't actually carry anything, but there's loads and loads of aid stations. Take advantage of that. Know your pacing is above. Feed off the crowd energy. It is mental in there. It's so noisy and it's brilliant. Everyone's willing you to get over that finish line. Have your finish line mood ready? As in, a lot of people that come along and they start looking at their watch and they're going, "Oh, saw that." As in, you've worked whatever months for this race, milk the red carpet, high five people, airplane it. Usain Bolt down the way. Just whatever you're gonna do, have it in your head beforehand and get ready to have get the reward for all your hard work. It's a great day out. Okay, mental game. A little bit. Everyone talks about the fitness mess, but what I tell guys who are training with me, when they start training, I said, look, it's going to be 70% physical and 30% mental. I go, what do you mean by that? I said, look, the train's going to be hard. It's going to be long runs, and it's physically going to take a toll on you. Mentally, it's going to take a toll on you. Well, that you have to go wake yourself up in the morning, go, oh, have the argument that, should I get up? This is stupid. Why have I done this? La, 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 la. That's 30% of your training, the training. Race day, it's the other way around. 30% physical because you've done the training. You're fit enough. You've done the key milestones. You've covered 80 to 20K in the runs. You've done your long bikes. You've done your long swims. So you're ready. Now it's just 70% of your mind telling you it's impossible to do on the day because you're stitching it all together. So we call this nerves, doubts, jitters, fears. It happens to experienced athletes and newbies alike. It also happens to pros. I had a cool conversation with one, and he went through. It was actually like talking to my club mate, and it was, yeah, no, I look in the, I see the guy in the tent. Go, look, he looks stronger than me. He looks faster. He's done more work. As I'm like, I don't belong here. His bike's better than mine. Yada yada yada. Rubbish. We all suffer from it. It's just how we deal with it is the key. First off, is remind yourself of your why. For some reason, you hit register, whatever, last year, was it 6 months ago, and you paid Ironman €600, whatever it was, to actually sign up for this. There was a reason why. It wasn't, did you do it as a personal challenge? Did you do it as a bet? Did you do it to inspire your kids? Did you do it in memory of someone, or did you do it just to actually prove to yourself? Whatever reason is, remind yourself that hasn't changed. All it is, it's now on your doorstep. Everyone doubts themselves, but look on stuff you've done. Look at your training log. Look at this thing. Was it key achievements? Have you done a first Olympic distance triathlon for your life? Have you run a first half marathon? Have you swam furthest distance? Have you cycled? These are massive little milestones, and all you're doing, these prove to you they were insurmountable months beforehand. They're no longer insurmountable because you've done them. It'll be the same with this race. Visualize and prepare. Think about what it'd be like in the swim. Think about what it'd be like on the bike. Think about, was it overtaking someone on the bike? Think about what it'd be like finishing strong than the finish shoot. These things will help pick you up your spirit when you're feeling yourself doubt, especially, on the run. You sort of go, oh, I'm 13 kilometers away. I know what that finish line looks like. Have a look at it beforehand. Give yourself the positive boost to get over that finish line. Have mantras for each discipline. Mantras are powerful statements that you say to kind of jolt yourself back to life when you're sort of going, you're drifting off the swim. I can't do this. Rubbish. Start thinking about slow, smooth stroke, as in where's that person's feet. Say things to remind you, and then high elbow or whatever it reminds you to do the things, the mechanics that you have done in the past in the training to get yourself up and running and moving forward because every movement forward is closer to the finish line. It might be the same on the bike, aero, go aero, smooth pedal stroke, etc. Jolt yourself back into life. Another way of doing this is, if you are doing this back to your goal, are you doing it for your kids? Are you doing it in memory of someone? Are you doing it to raise money for charity? Say that person's name, say that reason in your head, and go, or dedicate the last 5 kilometers of that run or the last 10 kilometers of the bike to that reason. Go, I'm not letting X, Y, Z down. That will get you there. Okay, so a little bit of talking about our travel and our checklist. We talked about this in taper, when you're actually going to be a little bit of time in your hands. Now it's the time to check your all the bits you should have get sorted. Where you're staying. Are you flying down? Are you getting a rental car? Are you driving down? Who's driving down? Who's bringing the bikes, etc. What time you check in? Write this down. Write out a mini schedule. You've been doing, been living a very regimented life for the last, whatever, 6, 9 months, however long you've been training. Write that out for the last couple of days, because you will need to do key events. Check out the swim start, check out the transition, check out the bike, the road surface. When do you need to have your bike checked in, etc., etc. Write it out and live that. Come Sunday, you can do as loose as a goose then. Key thing I say as well, definitely get a bike service done in your taper time, because you don't want to turn up and find out your gears or your derailleur is dodgy the morning of race day, because you won't find a local bike shop to fix it, and that will just stress the life out of you. If you pick it up 2 weeks beforehand and it gets fixed, and you know your bike is purring, again, minimizing stress is key in taper. Know what you need to pack. We'll cover that in the next section. And how are you gonna move things? If you're traveling on the plane, is it going by tri-bike transport? Are you going a bike box, etc.? Travel restriction check. Yeah, that's a legacy from my COVID stuff. We're good. Packing checklist. Make out separate lists for swim, bike, run, and check them off. There's other stuff as well that'd be key. Your ID, you'll need a passport, driver's license, your local federation, triathlon license, chargers for your Garmin's, your bike computers, etc. Don't mess that up. But a lot to remember. Hey, but look, we've got a beginner's guide for packing for an Ironman. And it also comes with a handy checklist. So if you, again, check in the link below, and there's an option to actually download the checklist, which will help out. Okay. Okay, guys, so we've covered all I think you should need to know. Talked about the course, talked about your nutrition, talked about your nutrient. I am going to do a webinar just around 2 weeks out. So if people are interested and want a little bit more information on what you do in the last taper or any last Q&A, I'm going to be talking to the race organizers, get all the gossip on it. And so if you're interested in that and want some last minute tips and would like to dial into my webinar, please email me at the email address there. Otherwise, please do subscribe to the channel. Please do like the video. As I said, I hope it's a help, and it will set you up for the last couple of weeks training, and you're very, very nearly there. And then it's taper, and then it's race day, and you will go smash it. So again, thanks for listening, and I hope this was very, very helpful for you.